I would also like to say how grateful I am for those beautiful readings tonight. Another healing benediction on our church, our nation, and our world, and something to remember that we must love our neighbor as ourselves. And what an important thing and what a privilege it is to do this. And in doing this, we are obeying God, and we are becoming a child of His. So, wonderful instruction. I thank you. And also the wonderful testimonies of healing and the beautiful music, hymns, our dear leader, Mrs. Eddy's hymn, number 30. So beautiful tonight. I found myself last week very busy. I should be aware when I'm beginning to feel that way, but I was up almost every night with a lot of work, mental work, and also watching and praying for our nation and world. And toward the end of the week, I realized I was feeling, I didn't have my usual joy, and I was feeling tired. And I know when I feel that way, that's a foreign feeling to me, and I need to pay attention to it and do some work for myself. And in praying and studying, I turned to something in one of Gilbert Carpenter's books, and I had it highlighted. But Mrs. Eddy says, if there is any lack of progress in our cause, it may be directly traced to a lack of group mental support by its adherents. And it's reminded in our alertness to duty not to forget nor to neglect this sacred duty. And she also goes on to say spiritual thinking should rest and not weary one. And Carpenter says, surely if one finds himself disliking to sit down and do a half hour of mental work for the cause, seeking to think with God and to relate in his thought God's children to their heavenly parent in a scientific healing way, that student should know that something is wrong. He should recognize that error is striving to make him believe an impossible supposition, namely, that one can be wearied in thinking God's thoughts. If such a proposition were true, then those who gain heaven are destined to be the weariest people possible, since the whole of heaven is embraced in the maintenance of spiritual thought. When this false argument of work in regard to right thinking is handled, one will find complete rest and great joy in thinking with God. It brings a wonderful uplift and illumination to think God's thought after Him. Back of the failure of students to do more mental work for the field is an induced disinclination, part of which is the suggestion that it is too much labor. When this is handled, one's mental work becomes a continuous expression of love and no longer seems like work. Well, after thinking about that and realizing how I'd been duped into thinking any kind of this work could make one tired, I woke up and I got my joy and energy returned, which I'm so grateful for. And it certainly goes along with what Mrs. Eddy says in Science and Health, page 520 to 21. The highest and sweetest rest, even from a human standpoint, is in holy work. I'm so grateful for dear Mrs. Eddy. I'm so grateful that we have the privilege to do this work. It is a great privilege, and it can only bless those who do it. So very grateful to be here tonight with you all.